Welcome back to Penjaros. I say welcome back, but this is definitely not the city you saw before. 3 things have happened. First, I fell into a pretty bad depressive state and had no motivation to work on anything for several months. Second, the game got an update, which almost definitely irreparably broke my saves. And third, I really just didn't like the way the original Penjaros was going, so I've decided to redo the whole thing from a blank slate. The ideas behind Penjaros haven't changed at all. The issue I have is that I don't feel I adequately reflected those ideas in the initial build. Penjaros is, above all, a place of unspeakable violence. The violence of poverty, power, and segregation. With my initial take on the build, I simply didn't convey that nearly well enough. And I feel like with this iteration, I'm doing a much better job of showing just how bad Penjaros really is. Now, I did take a completely different approach than usual when it comes to this build. Usually, I would pick a map off the workshop that I feel fits the build and work from there. But this time, I did a complete blank slate, nothing but open water. Penjaros got its start as a colonial prison labor camp on a remote island. At the time of the build, roughly the middle of the 22nd century, it has grown far beyond the confines of the original island that was there. With this as a basis to work from, I can pretty freely do whatever I want with the build, so that's super liberating. So in pretty typical fashion, I've started this build with the train station. Penjaros is still very heavily auto-oriented, but the original train station was simply too understated, too small for a city of the size I want to build. Unlike the original, this station has direct freeway access, as well as a substantial amount of parking. Much like the original station, there's simply no convenient way to get into or out of the station without driving, and nothing to do other than leave or transfer to another train. There's no direct street access from any point. You have to walk a considerable distance through a number of buildings, or you have to walk up the ramps from the street. The station definitely isn't finished. I'll probably touch back on this a number of times as I finish the areas surrounding it. Perfecting the visual aspects of Penjaros is going to be all about balance. On the one hand, I really need this element of visual material violence to be very forward in the build. Scenes like this, where we, the viewers, can very clearly see shacks on the roof of a factory, whose chimneys are spewing black smoke. People subjected to these horrible conditions all around the city in plain view. But on the other hand, all of that has to be pushed to the periphery. Penjaros is a militarized, heavily policed city, and much like in the US at least, laws exist and are enforced that criminalize homelessness. So these people who have nothing, who build homes wherever they can fit and with whatever they can find, are forced out of sight, into back alleys, onto rooftops, into alcoves and corners. The pain of life in Penjaros is both plainly visible and brutally hidden. Penjaros is about extreme contrasts, despite the visual monotony of gray and brown. I want to portray contrasts in wealth and lifestyle, contrasts in power, and contrasts in urbanism. In this shot, we get to see, on the one side, a dense shopping district, full of potential. With some adjustments, it could even be called walkable. And surrounding it is everything it is not. Gargantuan buildings, out-of-scale blocks and streets, sprawling parking lots and parking garages, infrastructure that divides rather than connects. Even the very location of buildings is hostile. The tall building on the left of the shop is an elementary school. It is separated from the residences and shops on the right by a towering freeway and a fenced-off industrial lot and parking. On the other side of it is, or rather will be, a canal. Unmet potential and hostility are at the core of what I want Penjaros to be. With all that, I don't really have too much else to say. I'll do my best to continue posting as I'm able, and if I can, I'll try to get Yarvin and Limnos working again. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.